our phone. I really haven't looked at it except once, and I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. I don't know what it's doing, but that's kind of cool, if it works. I don't know. But a site would have been a place of spirituality, I think, if people were buried there, if people died there. That table's big. I mean, it could have been an embalming table. It kind of almost looks like it could have been a birthing table, for birthing. It's much bigger than a lye stone. A lye stone you can pick up you can pick it up yourself. They're about 36 to 40 inches, and they're used for making soap. They put a barrel on top. They had a shallow round groove. This groove is actually trapezoidal in shape. And we are finding, speaking of that, we're finding the megalithic yard. It's a unit of measure that's found in megalithic sites. It's about 32 inches, 0.64, and it's found throughout Western Europe. Dr. Alexander Thom, doctor of archaeoastronomy, we met him. He died in 1985, and his son, Dr. Archibald Thom, he died in 95, but we met the whole family over there, kind of world famous today. And he was a doctor of engineering from Oxford. He had a seat there, and they do have an engineering building that he is named after him. But he was also up at Glasgow because he was from Scotland originally, so he was at two different universities as a doctor of engineering. He found the megalithic yard, and we think we have that at our site and a couple other New Englands. It's 83 centimeters. It's 32.64 inches. And when you look at the groove on the table, a guy named Roscoe Whitney from MIT, he was an engineer. He came up and he mapped the site for Mr. Gudrun back in the 30s. He used a plane table, profile, cross-sections, and plan views. And he said whoever built the site either didn't give a damn about linear measurements and knew nothing about them, because this site is not based on inches, feet, meters, or anything like that. And that was in the 30s. And we started looking at this in the 70s, and we think we have a site built on the megalithic yard. And what we need is to have it laser scanned. And then, like they did Machu Picchu recently, and it's very expensive because it's a very, very involved process, but you can actually map all the structures, get very accurate measurements, feed that into a computer, of course, different measuring systems we have, and compare and see what comes out of it. The 83 centimeter, by the way, that's being found in Central America, down in like Teotihuacan in Mexico, that amazing site just I've been to that, north of Mexico City, but also down in Peru. This 83 centimeter, again, is a megalithic yard. They're finding that in the Western Hemisphere. So that's another piece of evidence, I think, that may link both sides of the ocean.
I find that very, very interesting, this whole thing. Mm-hmm. And you said you had around 30,000 people. Again, how do they find your place? Okay, why don't we talk about that?
Yeah, so we have a website at StonehengeUSA.com, and it's a pretty good webpage. It has special events. It has phone number in there, as I mentioned, and it has the email address in there. And it describes, anything we find there. If anything important happens, we'll post it in there. We also have, we're on Facebook, and I think we have about 10,000 people on Facebook, and we have Instagram. And one cool thing that we started last year, it's actually on your mobile app, and you put America's Stonehenge, America's with apostrophe S, Stonehenge, and in your Play Store, I guess, and you'll see us, and you can download that. And right now, you could sit at home and actually take a complete tour of our site. It has text, pictures, and audio. And people use it on the tour, and some people do it before they come to know what the site is about. And I think some of the national parks are starting to do this, but we were kind of, we got in ahead of everybody with this new technology, It's kind of cool. So that is in the America Stonehenge. It's on your mobile. It's a mobile app thing. And you just go to Play Store, look us up, and download it. And it has really good pictures in it, too, like I mentioned, and, and text and everything. So it's a really good thing. We get a lot of compliments because of that. So, people, they don't have to drive up here if they don't want, but I would suggest it if you're interested at all.
Now, how about older people maybe have walking problems? Do you have to walk on the tour, the whole thing, or do you have trams, or what do you have?
Yeah, it's basically a walking tour. We have one trail that's a little bit easier to get up to the main site. It's our original trail. And then we have a nature trail. It's a little more difficult. We've had people up there with walkers, with segways, with strollers, and some electric wheelchairs. A person just did the electric wheelchair. And we try, the place isn't completely handicapped because it was built 4,000 years ago, and we try to do as much as we can, but you can't really destroy the archaeology either, So we put ramps up to our astronomical platform that are to code, and we put some other ramps where they could be put on the site. So if somebody really has a real difficult time walking up there, I would suggest doing the app. We try to accommodate the people. We love to have them up there. But some people, they can't get up there, if you had unless you had an electric wheelchair, that makes it more doable. A regular wheelchair, I would not advise that. If they're trying to walk and they don't have a wheelchair in it, but they're not really steady on their feet, probably, because it's about a half a mile for the short trail, and it's going up a hill through all the stone ruins and then back. And we also have the astronomical trail. That's about another third of a mile. And that's fairly level, but, some people will run out of wind by the time they get to the main site. So no trams, though.
Okay.
No zip lines.
And have you ever had, any visitors on the property start digging or trying to find stuff, artifacts or anything? Have you ever had problems like that?
Only people turning stones over occasionally. Yeah, I do see that. And I know the site pretty well now, and I'll see something like, why did they do that? We have signs that take only pictures, don't take, just take pictures, but don't take anything else, leave everything else. It's actually more poetic than that. They have that at a number of archaeological sites. We kind of like that. We made up a special sign. And we have a couple others as you walk along, and occasionally you still find people either on top of a structure, and it's kind of dangerous for them. And we were just out west, and they said, don't lean, sit, or stand on these walls, out in Mesa Verde. And someone, they said, the walls are built well. They're 800 years old, and you put thousands of people a year on these walls. That will call it damage. Even though they look rugged, don't do it. And we tell people the same thing, it's basically care and respect of the site, basically, Don't get on the structures, and, it's for your own good either. You don't want to fall over, and get hurt yourself. So, we try to do what we can to prevent damage to the site, to do, proper maintenance to the site, and hopefully people don't dig, but I do see things occasionally turned over. I'm like, I wish you wouldn't do that, that's not good, so, but not much of it though, most people are respectful. Probably 99% of the people are good,
Now, have you written any books about American Stonehenge or anything?
Yeah, I'm actually in the process of writing a new textbook on the place. I got most of the chapters written. We're still going through, and then we got to do a lot of editing and put the pictures in and a forward and a lot of in the index and all that stuff. But the bibliography, we got to do that too. I did put together a souvenir book, and that came out last year, and it really sells really good. It replaced a 1996 souvenir book that was written by a school teacher. She did a very nice job on that one, but she didn't know about we have these windows in the walls, we have the serpentine walls, and we found like other things like the megalithic yard. So we're putting all the new updates in it. The textbook will have all the new updates too, and I think we'll have that out by spring, we're hoping, And there's been several books written on the site specifically, but we're in like hundreds of books have either mentions of us or, written about us. Even fictional novels have been written about our site too. But my textbook will cover all the astronomy, archaeology, all the history and everything, and that will be out probably in the spring. I'm hoping anyway.
Now, the other book you mentioned, is that available where they can purchase it off your website?
Yeah, actually, they can. It's on Amazon. I think they can order that because they are sold on Amazon. I'm not sure about Kindle. I should ask my wife, but they can call us and order it, and we put it in the mail, and mail it to them. It's $8.95. It's pretty reasonably priced. Got a lot of nice photographs and a lot of text. And when the regular book comes out, my dad wrote one in 2003. And with a co-author, and that one is not only out of print, it just happened recently, but it was a little bit out of date too. And then the book before that, 1977, so we've had them over the years, books specifically about the hill. But yeah, they can call us if they want to order a book. We'd be happy to ship one out to them. And again, I think they're on Amazon, and it might be like $9.95, I think, or something like that. And shipping, I guess.
And what's the name of the book?
See that one there. It's America Stonehenge. I think souvenir book it says on it, and I think that's on our website. They can look at that, and then they can, call us or send us an email, and we get a lot of emails for that kind of thing too, So, and the textbook I think will be kind of good too. I got a couple lectures coming out all the way out to California, in Flagstaff, Santa Cruz. We're going to do some lectures on this place across the country from Maine all the way out. We'll bring the books with us too, so they'll be there at the lectures, to sell.
I find it what you said here tonight so interesting. That a site like what you have there, the stuff you found, even finding the daggers was found there originally. Tools, maybe a sacrifice table, and maybe burial mounds and all this stuff. It's so interesting. And wouldn't it be nice if we knew exactly what it was for originally? But I tell you one thing, you don't find stuff like this everywhere intact. And again, if you want to, if you're in the area, they need to get a hold of you. And why don't you give out your phone number too while you're at it?
Sure, yeah. Our phone number at the Visitor Center is area code 603-893-8300. And then you push 0 pound, and that way you'll talk to one of us. Otherwise, you'll just get the long recording, And we're there from 9 to 5, and it takes, like I say, about an hour to 2 hours to go to, depending which trails you take. And we have a picnic area there, and we have alpacas there. People love the alpacas. They say, well, why do you have them here? But we got them about 2002. We have 7 of them. And they're actually part of the North American camel family. So all the camels of the world actually came from North America, from here out to your area, down to Mexico, all the way up to the Arctic Circle. 45 million years they were here, and they only migrated out about 2 or 3 million years ago into South America, and they became, the alpaca, vicuna, guanaco down there in the llama. And they went up to Alaska, over to Asia, and but they're here for up to about 8,000 years ago. So their ancestors were actually North American, and kids enjoy that. The teachers we have, and just families coming in, like, oh, that's kind of interesting. I didn't know most don't know the camels from this country originally. They think Asia or Africa, and those guys from South America, which they are. But so we have that little bit of history too, about what was going on here in the past,
Oh yeah. Well, to the listeners out there, go check out his website. I did today. Mm-hmm. And, maybe if you're in the area, go to it because, you don't see things intact like this. Hey, Dennis, it's been really good having you on Night Dreams Talk Radio After Dark, and I really enjoyed what you had to say tonight.
Well, thank you so much for having me on, and thank all the listeners, and I'd love to come back on again sometime. Maybe we'll have a new discovery we can talk about. But thank you very much again. I really had a great time tonight.
Yeah, and
thanks, Dennis.
Yeah, and if you run across something new, you know how to get a hold of me. Dennis, have a great week.
I do.
Okay, my friend, you take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So anyway, what do you think about the whole thing? To me, everything like the building, the angles of it, the technology 4,000 to 7,000 years ago, I don't know how they had the technology to do it. I know it couldn't have been American natives because I just don't think that's something they would do. And it just doesn't fit. It kind of fits in a way, kind of something of the Vikings, but if it goes back to 7,000 years, it just makes you wonder what was it and who did it? What was the race of, that did this whole thing?
Exactly. And, I have studied that for years. I actually lived on the East Coast, and a lot of those structures, they kind of triculate down into like Connecticut and Rhode Island and Massachusetts also, and New Hampshire, Vermont, all of them, and even Maine. And so there was something definitely going on there, especially in that one site seemed to be more concentrated. But like you said, some of them, I've seen some of them stones, and I can't even guess how many tons they must weigh. And, without hardly any heavy equipment or technology that we have today, how in the world they hauled some of those, and some of them's up pretty good size little mountains and hills and put them. And, it's mind-boggling.
Well, not just that, to get the angles right. To find the right stones to place it. I mean, tens and tens of thousands of stones were used to create that. I just find it so unique. But, even the same thing has been found up in British Columbia. That when we had our little skirmish with Canada back years ago, when we sent American troops into Canada, and we, had our little brief little war, the same thing. They had those type of stone barriers. It is so interesting.
It is, and I definitely don't think that the Native Americans had anything to do with it. I would love to find some kind of lore or literature through Native American history where they can validate who was maybe here, but that's probably lost in time, it's too bad. But yeah, there was definitely something going on there, and there is a lot of connections with Anglo-Saxons, so to speak.
Yeah, but it's all over the world, these things, and they're pretty much the same thing. That's what I find, so mind-boggling. It's just like weird. Anyway, we're going to go on break. James, we'll be back for the last half an hour in 2.5 minutes. You're listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio. This is Gary. A little bit of music for the stations can do the break, and, go make that little run you need to make. We'll be back.